Welcome to the How to Apply for an Opportunity Step-by-Step session. In this session, Damien will talk us through how to apply for an opportunity in the funding service.
Today we're going to talk about how to apply for funding through UKRI. If you work in an area of research and innovation and you're looking to seek funding from UKRI, the place you do that is via the UKRI website, and that is here at ukri.org. And you can find out a lot about UKRI. It's made up of these 9 different councils, each look after a different area of research and innovation. And this is where you come to find funding. So there's a big Find Funding button here on the homepage, and all of the funding that is available through UKRI is available here on the Funding Finder. And this is where you can search for grants that might be available to you. You can scroll through all of the ones here that have been listed. All of our different councils are listed on the left. And if you are familiar with a particular council that you know that you would typically apply for funding through, you can filter by these councils. You can also look for different types of funding. So at UKRI, we fund things like research grants, we fund fellowships, so that's more about funding people, and we also fund different types of things like infrastructure, networks, and those types of things. Some of those funding types you can filter by here on the left, and you can also filter by whether or not things are open or upcoming. You might not be interested in the ones that have closed. And what this means is that typically funding will be available for a period of time, or the opportunity will be open to applications for a certain period of time. It's normally a few months. And we would need you to apply or make your application within that open period. Some other opportunities that we call responsive mode might be available all of the time, and you can apply to them. But certainly this is where you'll come to find funding, and what you would typically do is look for a grant that's available in the field of work that you are in. And so perhaps you're in renewable energy. You can do a search for renewable energy or whatever the field of research or innovation that you work in, and you can filter or get results on the types of things that you're looking for. There's a opportunity for funding here, which is in the field of renewable energy that has come up through my search, and this is where you would look at this grant and decide whether it is right for you. So let's go ahead and look into this grant. I can see that's open for applications at the moment, which is great. And I can see here that I've got until the 9th of November to apply, and how much the grant is worth and so forth. So let's dig into this opportunity and find a little bit more about it. All of our opportunities for funding are presented in the same way, which is you can get the basic information about the grant or the opportunity. You can go ahead and start an application. But what we know is what people typically need to do is understand more about this opportunity to ensure that it is something that they feel that they can apply for and that they have a chance of being awarded for. And if we scroll down a little bit further, we've got all the different sections available to us to learn more about this opportunity. Who can apply? This is at the top because it's, I guess, the most important thing. If you're not eligible, then there's no point wasting any more time looking at this opportunity. Eligibility is pretty standard across UKRI, but please always check the eligibility criteria for each opportunity to ensure that it is something that you are eligible for. For our research councils, who primarily deal with academic funding, you will need to belong to one of our eligible organizations in order to apply for a grant. So all of this information is available from the Who Can Apply section on each opportunity. And so what this section does is it walks you through the process of applying. I guess put simply, if I scroll to the top of the page, when you start your application, you will move into the funding service where you can start your application. But if I go back to our How to Apply section, let's just collapse these. What we've got here is information around each of the sections that are in the application form that you'll need to complete, along with the word counts for each section. So if you are familiar with our JES service that the new funding service is slowly replacing, you'll know that it was very document heavy and a lot of your application content was uploaded in documents. In the new funding service, we're moving more toward a word count and your application being entered into text fields on the screen. And so you can see all your word counts for each section that you've got here. So in this case, there's a summary section that I'll need to complete. I've got a word count of 550 words there for that section. I'll also need to be able to nominate my core team. So these are the people that the core people that would run the project if it was awarded. And there's different types of roles that you can nominate your team members to have. And then we go into our core questions. So what's your vision and approach? What's your big idea and how are you going to go about it? Similarly, we've got word counts published here for these different sections. So look through here. If you want to print all this out, you can do so. If we go back up to the top here, we can print this guidance or save this as a PDF, and you can go and take that away and start formulating your ideas and be aware of the different word counts, etc., and the different sections that you'll need to complete. You'll also get some information here around how your application will be assessed and so forth. So please take the time to read all of the information about the opportunity before you apply, because that will save you some time. But certainly I would also encourage you to go ahead and start an application well in advance of when you expect to submit your application, and well in advance of the deadline, to ensure that you have taken the time to be familiar with the processes involved with writing the application and the limits of the system and so forth. There's no obligation involved in starting an application. You can start an application and abandon it, and that is perfectly fine. But you will learn a lot by starting an application and seeing what it's like to go ahead and use the funding service. So let's talk about now the process of starting an application in the funding service. You've come to the Funding Finder, you've found an opportunity that is relevant to you and that you feel that you have a chance of being awarded this grant. You've probably gone away and started to speak to people who might be in your core team, and you've maybe started to have some ideas about what your application is going to look like. Then you can come and start an application. And when I do that from here, this will bring me into the funding service where I can start the application. The funding service at the moment enables a single person to edit or create and edit the application. This is something that we hope to develop in the future so that multiple people can come and work on an application. But for the time being, you'll need to be the project lead to create and work on an application. And so we'll ask you to confirm that that is the case. And then you can decide the organization you are applying on behalf of. And so this is typically the organization that you would belong to. And so I've got a dummy organization set up here, and I'm actually signed in. If I was to go ahead and sign out, what would happen now is that I would need to be able to either sign in or create an account. So let's go ahead and start an application that we've found on the Funding Finder. I'll need to confirm that I'm the person that is leading the project if it's successful. And as the person that is leading the project, I will also be the person that has the ability to edit the application. It's something we're planning on developing in the future to enable multiple people to come and edit the application. But for now, as the person that creates the application, you will need to be the lead and you will need to be the one who edits it. So I'll go ahead and confirm that. And then it will ask me if I've got a UKRI Funding Service account. This is not the same as a GES account, which you will need to create a new account on the new funding service, and you cannot put your old GES account details in here to do so. So I'll simply need to select the organization that I belong to. And this is our list of eligible organizations. So if you don't belong to one of these organizations, you won't be able to apply on the new funding service. I'm going to put our dummy organization in here for the sake of this demo. And I'll search for that. It's come up with Zorg. That's the organization I belong to. Great. And what it will do now is it will ask me to enter my details to create an account. This is all we ask for, which is your name, your email address, and to create a password. I won't go ahead and do that now. When I do hit that create account button, it will send me an email to my email address that I've entered here, and it will ask me to confirm that email address, and then it will ask me to sign in with that email address and the password that I just created here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in to the funding service, and I've entered my email address that I created an account with, my password, and I can now sign into the funding service. And this will bring me to the application that I have just started. In this example, I've got many because this is a demo environment, but let's go ahead and look at an application that I might have just started for the opportunity that I found on the Funding Finder. In the new funding service, this is what the application form looks like. It's a series of sections that need to be completed. We can see I haven't completed any yet. It's a new one. And it's a case of working your way through each of the sections and filling them in. So every section will ask a question. In this case, it's asked me for a name and a summary. And wherever there's a text field that requires text input, we provide also some guidance about what to put in each section. So I can write my summary. You might have prepared this information in Microsoft Word or something similar. You can paste that in from Word or Google Docs, for example, and it will retain your primary formatting. And you can also format your content here using the tools above the box. You can see the word count here. It's counting down the words that I've got here, so it will not enable me to save this section or mark it as complete unless I am within the word count. I'm going to mark that as complete and move on. We can see now that section has been marked as complete. I can still go back and edit that section. It just lets me know for my own purposes that I'm done with that section and I can move on. So it provides a bit of a measure of progress. So let's return to the application form. In this case, I've got a vision section. And similarly, we have a question. What are you hoping to achieve with your proposed work? And we've got the assessment criteria directly above the field here. And this is exactly what you would have found on the Funding Finder before you came in to actually create your application. So all of this information is available on the Funding Finder. You don't have to come into the application to read it. It's here again for your benefit once you do, but please remember that all of this information is on the Funding Finder, so you can go away and work on it off system if you need to. And then I can go and complete my sections. So if, for example, I was to copy and paste something from here and paste it in, you can see that it's retained my formatting. I can add additional formatting, give things a heading, for example, or I can superscript, subscript. It will bring in things like special characters if you've pasted them in from Word. And one of the other great features is that it will bring in any diagrams or images that you might have from Word as well. If you do want to bring an image in whilst on system, you can go ahead and upload an image, and you can put a diagram or a chart or some kind of graphical imagery into your application there as well, where it's allowed on the section. So some sections enable images, some sections they're not particularly relevant and they won't be available. And you work through your application like so, and complete each section. One of the key features that we have in the funding service is the ability to read your application in the same way that it would be consumed by assessors or the UKRI or a council within UKRI. And that's this read application view here. This is where all of your application is presented here on one easy to navigate page. You can use the navigation on the left here to jump down to each section and see exactly all of the information that you've gone and inputted on your application. You can remind yourself of the assessment criteria for each section here as well. And if you like, you can print this page. We can print that to PDF if we like, or we can print it out. And that enables you to go and take that away and work on it if you need to, or mark it up as well. So this is exactly what your application will look like to other people as well. So you'll be able to see exactly how it will be presented through expert review, for example, or in a panel environment. I'm going to talk a bit now about working with your research office. So the vast majority of our eligible organizations that can apply for funding across our research councils work in organizations that have a research office. And what that research office is there for is to support you with your application, but it's also there to manage the application activity within that organization. So we would expect that as part of creating your application, you would be in touch with your research office so they can support you, provide you with your costing information and so forth, but also support you in any of the other information that you might need to complete your sections. Your research office is the one that will ultimately do the final submission to UKRI. And so when you've completed your sections and you're happy with it, you can send your application to your research office. They will conduct the checks that they need to conduct on your research, on your application. And if they're happy with it, they will submit that onto UKRI and your application will be complete and submitted. If there's anything that needs changing, they can send it back to you to change. If at any point you have any questions with using the funding service, at the bottom of every page, we have a contact us information here. And so you can email our help desk or you can call them and they will support you with your queries. If it's a technical query, they'll be able to talk you through it directly or respond directly via email. If it's more a remit question or something more to do with the science or research, you might be referred to an expert within a council who will be able to resolve your queries there. But as I said, the contact us information is available above the footer on every page of your application throughout the process. So what you see here are typical sections within an application. This does vary from opportunity to opportunity, and so different opportunity types might ask for different information. But what we are doing in UKRI is where we do ask for things that are quite typical, we do that in standard ways. So you'll start to become familiar with our vision section, for example, which is all about your idea. And you'll start to see that the assessment criteria is quite consistent from one opportunity to the next. Similarly, your approach is another section which has become quite standard. But you'll also start to see different things. If, for example, it's an infrastructure grant and we're looking to fund equipment, we're going to need to know different information that we would need to know if we were looking at a fellowship opportunity where it's all about funding a person. You'll start to see consistency in the way that we ask for things that are similar, but indeed each opportunity is going to be a little bit different depending on what we need to know. And that's an overview on how to apply for funding on the UKRI Funding Service.
Thank you for watching this session on how to apply for an opportunity on the UKRI Funding Service. If you would like to view more information about the funding service, then view our website www.ukri.org as seen on screen here. For any queries or feedback, please contact the Funding Service Help Desk by emailing support@funding-service.ukri.org or by contacting the Help Desk 01793 547490.